Good evening, everyone. You are in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Tuesday, May the 10th, 2016. Good to have you all here for our first of two shows this week. Apologize for the late start once again. Sometimes I have to work a second job, and because of that, I get out about 8:15 or so, and it just takes a while to get here. But let me just point this out. The bigger reason why we're on late is because of some technical issues. I had a hard time getting on here tonight. So my apologies on that. We would have been on the air about 20 after 8, but I just couldn't get Google Hangouts to work. I was having a ton of trouble. I just couldn't get everything to load, and so my apologies for that. So technical issues, work, a bunch of things. But we don't have a long show tonight. We never did. We don't have a lot to do tonight. It's just sports and wrestling, so we don't have a lot on tap for tonight. So if you're going to start late, this is the kind of show you want to start late with. So, all right. So before we get going, as always, I want to remind you all the ways which you can interact and contribute to our show. You can have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtags, hashtag itspotlight411, hashtag ITS5, which of course represents the 50th anniversary on the air as a podcast, or create your own hashtag ITS Wrestling, hashtag ITS Basketball, whatever you want. Be creative, have fun. Just don't be offensive or disrespectful. That's all we ask. You can also find us on Facebook by searching for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook. And then once you find our page, make sure you like our fan page. All right. So again, this is our first of two shows this week. Tonight, we will be tonight is sports and wrestling. So obviously, we'll discuss any major sports things going on, mostly NBA playoff stuff. So we'll talk about that again. Most would be NBA stuff, but we might throw a couple other things in as well. And then wrestling, we're going to be talking about last night's WWE Raw and any other major WWE news going on, which really is this one story. So we don't have a lot tonight. That's all we really have on tap for tonight. Thursday is a much more full show, our entertainment show for this week. So we'll do our usual box office beat, TV highlights, film picks, all that good stuff. Maybe some entertainment news discussion, if there is time, which I don't think there will be, but I always say that just in case we have time and we decide to do something with that. And the reason why I won't have time is because we're going to do a special segment, that you've all been asking for and waiting for, our yearly tradition of our summer movie preview, our summer box office preview, where we look at the whole summer. And this is the biggest time of year for movies. We look at the whole summer, kind of give you an overview of what's coming up. And some general predictions for the summer as far as box office numbers go and so on. Obviously, Captain America Civil War got things underway in huge fashion last weekend. We'll talk about that, of course, and so much more in regards to the summer box office on Thursday. So that will be coming up on Thursday. As for next week, I want to refrain from talking about next week for one reason. I do believe next Thursday will be an all-wrestling show, because we do have WWE's Extreme Rules coming up Sunday, May 22nd. So we should be doing a wrestling show next Thursday, but there's a chance we'll flip it. I don't know. We'll see. We do the wrestling on Tuesday and then do a sports entertainment combo on Thursday. But either way, generally, you're going to have a sports entertainment combo show next week and a wrestling show next week. So it just depends on how they fall. So just be aware of that. Well, I'll officially announce how that's all going to lay out next week. Not next week, on Thursday. I'll officially lay out how everything's going to work next week. The week after next, we're only going to have one show because you're approaching Memorial Day weekend, and obviously we don't want to mess with that. So just be aware of that as well. So that's kind of an overview of what's coming up beyond this week. All right. My co-host Mike is on. Mike, you're in the spotlight. How you doing?
Really, really tired today. I'm not sure why either.
You work a full day and you had a long day today with meetings and stuff. That's why you're tired.
Reasons, I suppose.
This is one of those cases. This is one of those cases. This is one of those cases where I actually genuinely understand why you are tired.
That's a change.
Which is why I am kind of moving things along. Although, again, we do not have a lot on tap for tonight. So, again, if we're going to start late, this is the kind of show you want to start late with. Because we don't have a lot.
Let's be honest here. There's not a whole lot in the sports world other than basketball that we're talking about. So.
Right, and that's exactly where we're going to start. So, nice segue, Mike. I always appreciate how you do that. There is only one.
I'm the best.
There is only one game on tap tonight, and that started at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. So that will be the only game that we'll give you updates on throughout the show tonight. And that game is the Western Conference semifinal game between the Thunder and the Spurs. Game 5 between the Thunder and the Spurs, series tied at 2 games apiece. This game taking place in San Antonio. The Thunder lead 29-26 with 6:33 left in the second. This game on TNT, so we'll track that. It's a huge game, a huge game in a series that we knew was going to be competitive. We knew it was going to be competitive. I think the Thunder have surprised some people, including me, because if you look back at the beginning part of the series. We know the Thunder can score. That's not a thing, okay? We know they can score. The problem, the thing is, they're playing the best defensive team in the league, in my mind, and a team in the Spurs that not only we've always known the Spurs can defend, but now they can score. They got scorers on this team. Their offense is much more efficient than it's ever been. Obviously, we know they're a fantastic passing team. That's a given. But they're a multi-dimensional team now. It's not just about their defense anymore. They have a really good offense, and this is a series that while we all gave the Thunder a punching chance to score, probably win 2 games, you got to give the Thunder a chance to win now because of the way this is played. They had that gut check game 2 where they won by 1 point. They got some help from the officials. We all know that, okay? But then game 3, the Spurs hit them back. And then the Thunder come back in game 4. Every time the Spurs have hit them, they've hit back. And that's a very good sign for the Thunder because that's something that they've always struggled with. They've been one of those teams that's always played well from out in front. Whether it's out in front of the series in terms of wins or out in front of a game in terms of the kind of lead they have. They've always been that kind of team. Well, they're showing signs this year of being able to deal better with adversity and push forward. And if that's the case, they have a chance here. And look, really what this is going to come down to is this. If the Thunder are going to win this series, they got to win tonight. They got to win tonight in San Antonio, which we all know is a huge undertaking to do. If they win in San Antonio tonight, then you're putting the pressure on San Antonio to win in your building, which is a tough building to play in for Game 6. And you want that, and I know the Spurs are very adapting to handling pressure. We all know that. They know how to handle it. We all know that, but you still want to put them in that situation because if it gets to a Game 7 in San Antonio, you're not winning the series. If you're Oklahoma City, you are not winning the series. I don't care how much better at handling adversity you are not winning the series. Because you ain't beating them in a Game 7 in that building. You're just not. This is the San Antonio Spurs. Okay? So for Oklahoma City, tonight is the turning point. If they can win this game tonight, then they have a really good shot at ending this thing and advancing to the Western Conference Finals. A really good shot. And you have to give Billy Donovan credit. He's gotten these guys to play. He's gotten them to play. I mean, I stress this, okay? They're not a good defensive team. All right, they played better defense than they used to. They're not a good defensive team, but they play defense, so I guess that's an improvement. They have Ibaka, which is, that's pretty much the best defender they have. But anyway, we'll see what happens. So tonight, a critical game in that series. On the other side of the West, you saw one of the all-time great performances last night by a player. Not because of how much he scored, because Stephen Curry scoring 40 points is it's like old hat at this point. Stephen Curry was supposed to play 25 minutes yesterday. He was supposed to be in the game. Obviously it was a last minute thing. They decided to play him. Portland's played really well in this series. Game 1 they got trounced. They came back in game 2. Should have probably won that game. They outplayed Golden State in that game. They should have won that game. They didn't. But then in Game 3, they managed to get the win. And then if you watch Game 4, they outplayed Golden State the entire first half. In reality, outside of Game 1, I think they've pretty much outplayed Golden State the rest of the way here. That's just the bottom line. Stephen Curry comes in. He obviously showed some rust, which we all expected. But as he got into a rhythm, and this is why for any shooter out there. What he did last night was what you really need to watch that because he recognized, first of all, he's rusty. He's not going to just take threes. He's going to the basket. He's going, he's passing. The assist total, he knew that he wasn't going to have a good shot last night. So what do? He goes to the basket, attacks the basket, passes the ball off. He doesn't become a one-dimensional player. And then when his shots start to fall late in the game, in overtime, he starts taking the threes finally because he knows he's in the rhythm. Smart basketball IQ. That's what you want to see. Look, his cardio was off. He was struggling to get up and down the floor, which is the one thing that he was worried about, and most people would be worried about when you haven't played in 3 weeks, essentially, except for one game where I think he played, maybe 10 minutes or something. So, it was a struggle for him, and but to do what he did last night, and you saw Shaq, Barkley, they all were astounded by it. Everybody was amazed by it. To do what he did last night, after everything he's been through in the last 3 weeks, and with the the cardio issues, and was tremendous. He put the team on his back in overtime. He scored, I think, 17 points in the overtime. It was an all-time performance. That was a phenomenal performance by Stephen Curry, and that pretty much put the nail in Portland, because they outplayed Golden State for the last 3 games pretty much. Except for that overtime last night where it was basically just Stephen Curry anyway. And now they go back to Golden State down 3-1 with Stephen Curry now starting. Now he's capable of playing more than 25 minutes because he had to. Partly because Sean Livingston was an idiot and got himself taken out of the game because he did something completely stupid and yelled at a ref and all that other stuff. But you know what? Blessing in disguise. It put Stephen Curry in the game where he excelled. It proved to everybody that Stephen Curry can play these minutes, including Steve Kerr, and he gave you an all-time great point. Sometimes things work themselves out. And now Golden State is 1 game away from advancing to the Western Conference Finals. And look, let's be honest, they're going to win the Game 5. They're going to win Game 5. Portland's not coming back to home until the series is over. That was their chance, Portland, last night. And even with Stephen Curry in the third and fourth quarter starting to come alive a little bit, Portland still was out in front. It's just that overtime broke them. A couple of good defensive plays, and then Stephen Curry going off in the overtime pretty much broke the Portland Trailblazers. And you got to give them a lot of credit. Again, they outplayed Golden State in Game 2, Game 3, and for the most part, aside from the overtime, in Game 4. Portland really should be the team up in this series. It's just Golden State finds a way, and now with Stephen Curry, they're back to full staff, and the series is over. Golden State's advancing, and they're probably going to do that tomorrow night. But an all-time performance last night. And then on the Eastern side of things, there's not much to be said. And this is where things get, there's not much that you can say about it. Cleveland did what they did. They ran through Atlanta. They're on a historic streak shooting the basketball from three-point land. Look, I know there's been a lot said about their over-reliance on the three-point shot, including by Charles Barkley, which has ruffled some feathers. We talked about this in the college game the last few years, how the three-point game has become so big. It's kind of dropped back a little bit to reality, as opposed to maybe a year or two ago. But it's now infiltrating the NBA a little bit more. You're seeing that a little bit more now, how big it is. Golden State doing what they did. Now you even see San Antonio take more threes. More and more teams are going more to the perimeter offense because of the fact that you got some of the best shooters ever playing in the game now. But yeah, Cleveland's doing this, and a lot of people think this is what's going to cost them because eventually, even the best shooting teams hit a wall. Golden State did that last year, and they almost lost the series. They hit a wall, and they came out just in the nick of time, and that was it. Eventually, you're going to hit a wall, or you're going to play a good defensive team that's going to shut you down. And that's why everybody's concerned about Cleveland. Like, okay, great, we know you can do this to the Eastern Conference team, but what happens when you play a team out of the West in the finals? Obviously, Cleveland's going to get there. I don't think there's any doubt about it. But what happens when you get there and if you face a good defensive team? What do you do then? Or a team that can score from 3 like you are right now? What do you do then? Look, you worry about that when you get there. Because, see, here's the thing. Even though Cleveland is maybe over-relying on threes right now, we know that Cleveland can score the ball in other ways. We know that. LeBron James, that's his game, going to the basket. Kyrie Irving, that's his game, going to the basket. All right, they got guys on that team that can go to the basket. So, all this hoopla about, well, they're relying on the 3. What are they going to do when things get tough and they don't make? Then they're going to go to the basket. It's not like this team doesn't have players that can go to the basket. So to me, worrying about this to the extent that some people are and using it as a knock on the Cavaliers is ridiculous. Let them do what they're doing right now because it's working, and once it doesn't work, they'll go to something else. But Cleveland ran right through Atlanta, which we all suspected. We all knew the more competitive series was going to be the Heat and the Raptors. And if I'm Toronto, I'm worried because they honestly, and I'm no disrespect to the Miami Heat, but Toronto should be up 3-1 in the series. The fact that they're tied right now is a testament to Miami and how well they've been playing of late, but also it's an indictment on Toronto, who has played absolutely horrible in these playoffs. They could have easily lost in the first round. Toronto has not held up to the team that we saw during the regular season. Their guard play's been atrocious. They're getting beat in the paint, which we all knew they would be against the Miami Heat because they have an advantage there. I could easily see Miami winning this series. And again, it's going to come down to this. The same thing as the Spurs-Thunder series. That we all knew that series would be competitive. We knew this series was going to be competitive. These are the two series we knew would be the most competitive among these four series. Just like the Thunder, if the Heat want to win this series, they got to win in Toronto Game 5 and then get it finished in 6. Cannot go Game 7 in Toronto. Now, the one thing to Miami's credit, though, playing Toronto in their building when they have very little experience and their young team is not nearly the same as the Thunder playing the Spurs in Game 7 in their building. Because it's the Spurs, okay? So it's not like it'd be as much of a slam dunk as it would be for the Spurs, for the Raptors in Game 7. But you still don't want to take that chance. And that series is the only series I can't call. I picked the Raptors to win it, but I am not feeling very good about it. They have not played well in this postseason. I expect Golden State to finish out tomorrow night. I still expect San Antonio to win the series. I think they'll win. I think they'll come back and win the night. And I think Oklahoma City will probably. I think it'll go 7 games. I just think San Antonio will win it in 7. I always thought this series would go 7 games. Especially after Game 2. I always thought in the back of my mind, I gave Oklahoma City 2 games for sure, but in the back of my mind, I always kind of felt like it'd get to 7 games somehow. Even though I think I said that I thought San Antonio would win in 6, but back of my mind, I kind of thought it might go longer. So I still think we're looking at San Antonio, Golden State, and Cleveland, Toronto, which is the 4 that we all, I think most people thought for the last couple months. But we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting rest of this week here as you play out the rest of the string here of these series. Mike, do you have anything to add with these NBA playoffs here?
With the NBA playoffs, not really. I will tell you this: I have not watched as much as you think I have, which is less than you think it is. Gold. I mean, was competitive in the last game. All right. Atlanta was competitive against Cleveland in the last game, so much like the outside perimeter offense, just don't work. Cleveland is a team full of pro players, led by captain. Great of an outside shooter, but when I drive to the basket, I'm the best goddamn player in the game. We know him as LeBron James. So if it's not on, LeBron James is going to go to the basket, and when LeBron James is cutting to the basket, he is the best player. He is the best offensive player in the game. He has him beat as an outside shooter. James is the superior hit and finish guy. That's how they are. And those are the number 1 and number 2 offensive players in the game, far and away.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Steph Curry's got him beat, is shooting. LeBron James will dominate going inside. So, yes, Cleveland's going to try their luck outside. And when it doesn't work, they're going to go to their bread and butter anyway, which is kind of what won them the game against Atlanta. And essentially won the series. Atlanta's no match for them. And honestly, the longer this dogfight between Miami and Toronto goes on, The easier road Cleveland's got
Right.
for the finals. Much easier road. So it is what it is. All right. But that being said, if Toronto wins, I can't totally write them out. Miami is just at this stage, they're too old. Too old. Dwayne Wade has had a career resurgence. However, not there. Pete. Although it probably would make for better drama if it were Miami.
Oh yeah.
Say that it will make for better drama if it's Miami because it's Cleveland and Miami in the finals. LeBron spurred them a couple seasons back. Oh no, what is going to happen for all of the marbles for the right to lose to Golden State or San Antonio? And even though San Antonio, it's not guaranteed. Right now, Oklahoma anyway, City's winning. Oh, we gave Oklahoma City a puncher's chance. Back, San Antonio currently has a 2-point lead, according to Score.com. Oklahoma City, we gave them a puncher's chance. Now we're giving them a legitimate chance. However, it's one of those situations where Oklahoma City could beat the Spurs, but they can't beat the Warriors.
Right.
San Antonio is probably the only team left. I give Cleveland a puncher's chance. It's the only team left that can really beat the Warriors. San Antonio goes down, then I can honestly see Golden State getting a cakewalk to the title. I'm not going to go out of my way and saying it was one of the all-time greatest performances. Oh, a pretty damn good performance what Seth Curry did. It's transitioned really that quickly, but I did because there's not a whole lot to say. San Antonio's got to get their shit together.
Yeah.
The Thunder in their place because the Thunder should not be this competitive. This is a hell of a coach, and everybody at this point should be aware of that.
Brad Stevens.
Brad Stevens. Who am I thinking of? Billy Donovan. Brad Stevens is Boston.
Yep.
Whatever is it, I'm tired. I don't even know how I'm getting those two guys confused. Billy Donovan has made a successful transition to the pros. But then again, he was going to take an Orlando Magic team that, I don't know, sucked.
He got lucky and got a good job.
Versus an Oklahoma City team that just look, Oklahoma City's still a couple pieces away. The problem is, how many teams are a couple pieces away? The Clippers, I feel like, are a couple pieces away.
Mm-hmm.
He's a couple pieces away. Just from maybe getting in the finals. The Clippers have been a couple pieces away for a couple of years now, and it's hard to say if they're going to overcome that barrier. Back to Steph Curry. So real quick, he got him performing. However, it's not there. They should not be this competitive with the Spurs.
Yeah.
So here we are. As for wasn't one of the greatest. Look, we're not going to ever. We shouldn't. We're not going to even compare it to the getting sick and scoring 38.
You can't compare it to that.
Oh, that is probably one of the all-time, if not the all-time greatest playoff performance. I'm going to say this one was pretty darn good. Steph Curry, what he did, he scored 40. No, wow. It took him all game to get going. He had to change his game up. He had to rely on his teammates. It took him to overtime.
Right.
Portland should have probably won in overtime.
Portland should have won the last 3 games.
Probably. It's just that Steph Curry found his outside shot.
Mhm.
Took him all game, but once he found it, that was it. He probably shouldn't have played 40 minutes, but they needed him every single minute. Portland should have won a couple of these games. They haven't. This is it, because I feel like that's their death now. Because Golden State's going to keep playing Steph Curry.
Oh yeah.
They have to get this guy playoff ready, because you can't have your best player winded against either the Spurs or the Thunder. Obviously, there's obviously more of a steep curve against the Spurs than there is the Thunder, but it was a really, really impressive playoff performance. I will give you that. The all-time best. Let's not go all the way here. Not at the put-out stage. All right, we're not putting out yet. So let's just say, fucking great performance. Probably maybe even historic on some level, but it's not one of the. Let's not go as far as saying it's one of the all-time greatest. It's really, really not. But it was hella impressive.
I think it's funny. I think it's funny that he did it the night before he was unanimously chosen as the MVP for the second straight year, which is kind of appropriate.
That's not surprising.
And there's really nothing you can say about that. It's a coronation. We all knew he was going to get chosen. He deserved to be chosen, and last night kind of proved why he was chosen. So, you know, and let me just say something about Portland real quick. Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. For those that have not watched much Portland, I wager that many didn't to probably the series this year. Those two have really become stars. They have been phenomenal in this series, especially Damian Lillard. He has been a phenomenal player in this series. And also, I like to point out Al-Farouq Aminu, who, he's only been in the league for a few years now, but he has turned into a he could be a Draymond Green-like player. He's become a very dynamic player. He can hit shots from outside, goes to the basket, turn into a great defender. He has been big in this series. Those three guys have been really good in this series, and they deserve all the credit they're getting because they've just been fantastic. And that might get lost in all this, but they've been great. So, so that's where we're at right now. Over the next week, I'd imagine we will get all this. Over the next week, we'll know one way or the other who our Final Four is. The two teams out of the West and the two teams out of the East, and we'll play it out here as we head towards the end of May. All right, so that's all the NBA stuff we had, and there's really nothing else in sports as Mike noted going on. The Kentucky Derby, there wasn't any big stories there. We were going to do some baseball tonight, but here's the thing: the couple of things that I was going to talk about with baseball, I mentioned this last week that we were going to do some baseball stuff this week. The couple of things I was going to talk about, it's one of those things where you see that it might be worth waiting a little bit because, for one thing, it's early, and two, a couple of things have changed over the last week. So before I open up this long, drawn-out segment about something, I'd rather wait to discuss some of these things. So that's why we're not going to do any baseball. I know people have been craving baseball, and look, we always kind of put off baseball till at least late May anyway. So just bear with us on that. One of the things that I was going to mention, and I'm not going to mention it now because I think it doesn't. I don't think it's something that will require a lot more discussion, is the idea that, I think Joe Girardi mentioned, I think some other managers have too, the idea of banning defensive shifts, which has come up before. But again, that's a very loaded issue, and it's not something that we have the time for tonight, and we don't want to be on the air till 11. So that's something that we're going to table, and we'll wait to discuss, because I think that's something that might pick up steam as the season goes along. It's been something that's been discussed over the last couple of years, but I think it's going to pick up further steam this year because I think a lot of people are starting to get the sabermetric thing is starting to, die off a little bit. You're starting to see more and more teams go back to the old way of thinking and just getting the best talent, and thankfully, so as that happens, as that it trends back towards what the way it used to be, I think you're going to see a lot of more support and a lot more talking about getting rid of the defensive shifts. Because again, from a purist point of view, that's not the way it's supposed to be. The positions are the way they are on the field for a reason. It's not supposed to be this constant changing of the, So, but that's something we'll probably talk a little bit more about as we go along this season. So, and the other things I was going to talk about, again, I think it's worth waiting on those because I think they might develop further and then we can go into more depth about them instead of just kind of going about what the few things we've seen so far. So, baseball fans, bear with us. We'll get to some of these things. I don't think it's right to do it tonight. I think we'll wait them out and see how things develop first. I think that's a better way of handling it. So again, there's nothing else going on in sports. If we table the baseball stuff and nothing happened in Kentucky Derby, the only thing that was going on is the NBA. There's really nothing big in hockey right now worth talking about. So you know what? That's really all we got for sports. So, it is what it is. This is the time of year we're in. It's in a month we'll have the NBA draft. And we can go from that and talk about that. And the NFL draft's not something we discuss. So you know what? It is what it is. It's very limited right now. So, so we cover what we need to cover in sports. I'll give you a quick score update right now. They're at the half in Game 5 of the Western Conference semifinal between the Spurs and the Thunder. This game, of course, in San Antonio. The Spurs lead the Thunder 48-43 at the half. Kawhi Leonard is the star right now with 17 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 steals. So Leonard having a big game tonight. And we'll keep you update on that while we're on the air here tonight. All right, so from sports we go to wrestling. And we go to a WWE Raw last night, which wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. I will say this, though. All right? And a lot of you probably would agree with me on this. I don't know what possessed them. And I like Dean Ambrose and I like Chris Jericho. I do. What in the world were they thinking putting that in the main event segment? What in the world were they thinking? Because here's the thing. All right, I like the feud. It's got some funny moments. All right, but no, I mean, look, it's a mid-card, upper mid-card feud. And right now, most of it's being driven by the fact that Chris Jericho broke a beloved plant of Dean Ambrose over his head. And then last night, we had a full segment, which was pretty cool to start. I thought it was really interesting, having Ambrose take out Jericho and then wear his jacket and then destroy his jacket. But it went on way too long. It reminded me of some of the stuff we had before WrestleMania last year, where it was just like drawn out beyond the point of caring. And then nothing happens. More people were, what people were invested in that whole segment? Big Cass. That's what they were waiting for. They wanted to see Cass versus Jericho. And they didn't get it. They got a little bit of interaction, but they could care less about this Ambrose Jericho crap. And I like both guys. I'm okay with them getting a second match, but that should not have been the main event. That should have been the 10 o'clock segment. And the funny thing is, at the time, I was okay with Roman Reigns and company being in a 10 o'clock segment because they've been main eventing every week. Like, oh, this is a nice change. But then you give me what you gave me in the main event, and I'm like, wait a minute, we really had to linger on 10 minutes? The final 10 minutes, nothing but Jericho whining about his jacket. And then a cutaway to Shane and Stephanie, which we got our first hint that Stephanie's going to stab him in the back. But everything else was just a waste. And the sad part is, Raw wasn't bad getting up to that point. The Reigns Styles thing was really interesting. Good psychology. I think they're doing a really good job with that. The rest of the show wasn't bad. There was good build-up. The Kevin Owens stuff was fantastic. The Intercontinental title stuff was great. I just don't understand why they booked that, what they did in the main event. Only way that would have worked is if Big Cass and Jericho actually had a match. And if you want Ambrose to be involved in that, then have Ambrose just interfere or something. I mean, that would have been a lot better use of that segment than what they gave you. And that I just don't understand why. I mean, that was horrible. Sorry. That was horrible. And, of course, the crowd wasn't great either, so that didn't help either. Before I move on to the wrestling story that none of you want us to talk about, and that's the only story that we're going to talk about other than what we just talked about with Raw. Mike, do you have any thoughts on last night's Raw?
As you know, well, they don't know. I left early.
Right.
I did.
Lucky you.
Pardon me, because today was a long day. The Kevin Owens segment. Pardon me, holy shit. I was just waiting for the Kevin Owens match to be done. It's not like there was going to be any drama in that match. We know who was going to win. But Zack Ryder's on television. That's a win for somebody. Maybe Zack Ryder. Who knows? They still don't like him for getting over on his own. And it's obvious, too. Does not forgive those who take away heat from Roman Reigns. Kevin Owens fucking rocked every segment he was in. Even when he was sitting watching Sami Zayn win like a D-bag, he was amazing. Drinking coffee. If anybody knows anything about Cesaro, you know that dude is obsessed with coffee. So him drinking coffee in the middle of the show made lots of sense. Zayn and Miz had a really good match. And people were invested in that one at the end. People are invested in Roman and AJ, and it's interesting to see what they're doing. People are still going to boo Roman Reigns. Mm-hmm. It's just they got him to the point where, maybe in non-Markish towns, some people might cheer him. Some of the general fan base might cheer the guy. That's impressive. At that point, and AJ just, I don't know. The feud is interesting. It's just wanted to be swerved here. I don't want to be swerved. Interesting. Any swerves coming? This is the title reign, in which case AJ should win. Mm-hmm. I'd say that, but here it is. But Kevin Owens, he rocked every segment he was in. Dude's the best. He had a funny after Raw on the YouTube channel and on WWE.com where he was interviewed by Renee Young. Go watch that. It was outstanding. Kevin Owens is on fire. He should be. He should be. But people were surprisingly invested in Big Cass, and they wanted to see him against Chris Jericho. Why we didn't get that match? Or why we wasted all that time in a segment where Dean Ambrose, somehow the 7-foot guy, and you can't. He disappeared. That segment. It was all about Ambrose tearing the jacket up. Who cares? What's usually done? You have the match. Dean Ambrose comes out. He distracts Jericho by going after the $15,000 jacket. Jericho's like, oh no. Big win because I think the team needs it and he needs it. And all of a sudden, Ambrose, when Jericho's down,
yeah,
you could have run that. Everything would have been so much better than what we got. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know what they were doing. They made a really stupid decision by not having the match at all. But hey, we for you. Watch anything from Raw. Watch the Kevin Owens segments. Kevin Owens segments. They were the best part. That's it.
Well,
fuck Raw.
You brought up Kevin Owens, and that leads me to the story that a number of our wrestling fans have emailed us about. And I had already seen it. I was going to actually text you about it, but I never got the chance because today was just one of those days. But as I'm like, you know this, the WWE is going to have a network special this summer called Bash at the Beach.
Sure.
Well, they are now obviously card is subject to change. We all know that, right? That's not that's a thing. But you recall a couple of months ago we heard some matches advertised for the show. One of them I think one of them was Chris Jericho and Shinsuke Nakamura or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, today,
So.
local advertisements are promoting 3 matches for this event. Remember, this event's going to be taking place in Hawaii. Here are the 3 matches. Charlotte versus Asuka. John Cena versus Shinsuke Nakamura. And Brock Lesnar versus Kevin Owens.
I don't know if any of those matches are going to stick.
Now, I just want to point out, all right? We know Brock Lesnar is going to be doing the special. We know Cena is going to be back. There have been rumors that John Cena is going to be doing something absolutely shocking when he comes back. So could I buy them throwing Nakamura in with Cena for a summer feud? Yeah, I can buy it. Especially since, as has been pointed out by a lot of people today, John Cena usually, a lot of people are hoping that this, if they do this feud, it happens around SummerSlam. Because John Cena usually loses at SummerSlam. It seems like he loses every year there.
Now it does.
Yeah, now. But anyway, I think Cena versus Nakamura, provided Nakamura came out on top, would be fascinating. If they want to go there.
It would be, but I wouldn't run that match.
But Brock Lesnar, Kevin Owens should not be happening at a WWE Network special. That match is big enough for a WrestleMania. That would be a horrible mistake to run that match at a network special, which is a glorified house show. Just the fact that it's on the network. Now I could see them running Charlotte versus Asuka.
Asuka's probably going to win that.
Yeah, I could see them running that. But I can't see them running the other 2. I just can't. Not when SummerSlam is, like a month after that?
Yeah.
That makes, no sense. Although I would say this, all 3 of those matches would be absolutely fantastic. And I'd watch them. If that's what you were to get. But a lot of people were seeing these today and were going crazy about them. So it's kind of interesting that it's kind of interesting that they would even bother advertising it, because sometimes you see these advertisements and maybe they'll change the card, and they probably, to your point, they will probably change the card. But a lot of times these local advertisements will give you a hint to where they're going with some of the storylines.
Yeah. Nakamura is going to be the one next big thing. They're probably going to give him something similar to Owens.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, remember Owens' first match on the main card?
Yep.
Yeah, he beat good old what's his face, John Cena. Kevin Owens versus Brock Lesnar is a money match that is about a year or so down the road. You gotta make Owens into this monster. You haven't really started yet, in a way.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't run that match this quickly, especially since Brock is Brock, and you want to protect Owens. So that I don't think that match is going to happen. Somebody is going to get fed to the beast, though. They're going to get fed to the beast. Owens would probably be on the show wrestling Sami Zayn or some shit. Let's be honest here.
I'm trying to think of who else they could give to Lesnar that they haven't, like just for a throwaway match.
Nakamura is going to probably get Jericho.
Yeah, I think so.
Nakamura is probably going to get Jericho. Who do they give to? You know what I would do? I'd probably run Ambrose again. I'd probably run Ambrose Lesnar, or maybe if the Wyatt family is still a thing, I'd actually throw Braun Strowman in there because why not?
Yeah.
I could throw. There are guys in the roster that are really that have some credibility that could get dominated.
If they want it to be go ahead.
Hell, I'd throw Roman Reigns in there just to see him get his ass whipped again.
I have an idea. I don't know if they'll do it. I mean, but if you want to actually have a little bit more of a match, put Cesaro in there.
That would be a good choice. That'd be a good choice. Not such a good choice because the dude just came back from injury.
That's true. That is true.
But if you want a very competitive match with strength and athleticism, Cesaro versus Brock Lesnar. I didn't know how much I kind of wanted to see that match until just now. Holy shit, that would be super fucking great.
Would be great.
But wow, that's actually very intriguing. Cesaro versus Brock. Yeah, that could be a guy they throw in there.
I mean, if you want it to be a little more than just like a 5 to 8 minute kind of, you want it to actually be a little bit more of a showcase for Cesaro and just have him go with Brock for about 20 minutes, you could do that.
I think Cesaro could probably survive in the ring with Brock for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I'd go with that way.
Yeah, that's why I'd look at it. And he doesn't lose anything losing to him.
No, because Cesaro doesn't really have anything right at this point.
I mean, if anything, it could be like his push last year where he had those good matches for Cena, and they were about to start a big push for him before he got hurt. If they see him in that ring with Brock Lesnar and they see something, they might go, hey, you know what? It might help him get over.
Why not?
Why not, But, yeah, I mean, I think it'd be worth a shot. I mean, they could always go, I mean, Biggie Langston they haven't used yet.
They're not going to do that.
I mean, they've already used Kofi.
That's true, but the New Day are technically faces right now.
Well, Cesaro is, too.
True, that's true.
I mean, Ambrose is. I mean, that you're essentially going to run Brock probably against the face anyway. So he's more of a tweener kind of character anyway. So it doesn't really matter, I guess. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously we know Cena's going to be on the card. We know Brock's going to be on the card. I wouldn't be shocked if Asuka is on the card. So we'll see. I mean, they want this to be a big event. Clearly, they do because that's why they're promoting it as such. And it's going to be a cool event to do it in Hawaii and to do. I mean, it's going to be a cool event. I mean, if they wanted to be now. Remember, they did the same thing last year for Elimination Chamber. They were like, oh, it's going to be a WWE Network event, ain't going to matter, and then all of a sudden it mattered. It became an actual pay-per-view. So I guess what I'm saying is if they end up going in that direction and making it more important than just the average network special and make it more like Elimination Chamber and Roadblock and that where it actually does matter, then things could be a little bit different. So we'll see. But I mean, obviously the matches themselves, I can see why people would be excited. They're awesome. Those matches would be awesome. But those are not the kind of matches you throw away on a network special. They're the kind of matches you give somebody at SummerSlam or WrestleMania. They're too big for a WWE network special. So, yeah. So that was the big story that everybody was kind of talking about. I mean, there's a couple little things. I mean, people were talking about the debut of Dana Brooke last night, which I guess was because of the fact that Tamina and Naomi are not on screen right now. Tamina's injured. She had to have surgery. So now you got Dana Brooke joining Emma so they can kind of replace what Tamina and Naomi were so that, I mean, just people talking about that. The Ryback situation is nothing new there. That's pretty. Oh, and Triple H, I guess, it's been reported that Triple H has signed a new 3-year agreement to wrestle. Again, he has a different. Obviously, he's an executive, but this is a 3-year deal to wrestle. It was automatically re-upped, so he will, for at least for the next 3 years, looks like he's going to continue on wrestling. Which, oddly, if this were 5 years ago, I think people would be like, ugh. Now there's a lot of people that are more positive about it because he's put guys over. He's had some good feuds. But he's actually a pretty big asset to have around to work a match every now and then. Especially since now he doesn't just have his shovel out and bury everybody.
Hmm.
And I really think a lot of people want to know why he'd continue to do it. I think he's doing it because there's some NXT guys he wants to put over and work with. I think that's the only reason why he's extended it, like he's still wrestling, because there's some guys that he brought into the company that he wants to see, kind of rise to the top, and he's going to help put him there. There'll be guys he picks and chooses and, works a match with and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I think it's interesting to me because 5 years ago, I think a lot of people would have grown at it, but today I saw a lot more positive reactions to him to that news. A lot of positive reaction, which is interesting because it's a complete a 180 as terms of how Triple H was viewed. I guess that's what having NXT will do for you, right, Mike? But yeah, that's really the only news that's out there. I mean, we pretty much know our matches for Extreme Rules. They're pretty much regurgitated from Payback. So there's not really anything else going on. So I think we've covered everything we need to cover. Again, I told you we didn't have a lot tonight, so there you go. So I think we're going to wind down. As always, the show might be over. It does not mean you have to stop interacting or contributing to our show. You can continue to have your voice heard. Send us your feedback, your questions about the show, the scheduling of the show, reactions or comments, things we talked about on the show, things we said, topic ideas or breaking news items you want to make sure we cover related to sports, entertainment, or wrestling. Any of these things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us at itspotlight411. And please remember to use the hashtags, hashtag ITSpotlight411, hashtag ITS5, which again represents our 5th anniversary on the air as a podcast. Or you can create your own hashtag. If you're talking about something, maybe you're referring to something that we talked about in our wrestling segment, you can put hashtag ITS Wrestling. If we were talking about something, if you're referring to something we talked about, like when we're talking about basketball, you can do hashtag ITS Basketball. You can create your own one. Create your own hashtag. Have fun with it. Just be creative. Have fun. Just don't be offensive or disrespectful. That's all we ask. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook and make sure you like our page upon finding it. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest information about our show, especially as it relates to schedule. That's the best way to get information about our scheduling. If there's a delay or a cancellation last minute or something, that's the best way to get information, and really the quickest way to get information. If you'd like to keep up with our show, whether you're checking out an episode again or maybe missed a part of an episode or missed the entire episode, you have a couple ways of doing that. You have Google Plus and YouTube. Now, if you're somebody that likes seeing us on screen and you're just more comfortable with Google Plus and YouTube and likes the streaming aspect of it, and you're only interested in checking out episodes from our Google Plus YouTube run, then you want to check us out here on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411, and you'll find our channels on both YouTube and Google Plus, and you'll have access to every episode we've ever produced here on Google Plus and YouTube, which is everything from mid-October all the way to tonight. So again, if you're interested in just the Google Plus YouTube episodes, you'll want to check us out on here. And especially if you're more interested in streaming, it's just easier. And obviously, if you're like the streaming aspect and you're more comfortable with it, then obviously why wouldn't you check us out here on Google Plus and YouTube? So that's one way you can do that. The other way you can keep up with our show and look back at episodes is by checking us out on our main host site, Podbean, and also on iTunes. Now, I no longer have to keep things separate because everything's been consolidated. So on iTunes and on Podbean, you want to search for In the Spotlight 411. And when you do, you'll have access to every episode we've ever done, not just everything from our Google Plus YouTube run from October till tonight, but everything we've done over the last 5 years, from October 2010 all the way up to tonight. Our episodes from Blog Talk Radio, Talk Show, everywhere, iTunes, everywhere. All of our episodes we've ever done over the years are all on Podbean in order from the most recent date to the oldest, and on iTunes from the most recent date to the oldest. And on iTunes, we've consolidated everything, so you no longer have to look for it under our old title. It's all under In the Spotlight 411. So just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Podbean and iTunes, and you will find every episode we've ever done on both sites. And again, in order from most recent date to the oldest. So, again, maybe you're a longtime fan that wants to look back at really old episodes, or a new fan that wants to see what those look back at those episodes or watch them for the first time or check them out for the first time and see what we were all about back then, or maybe you're interested in more current episodes, whatever the case may be. And especially if you're somebody that prefers audio podcasting more so than streaming podcasting, maybe you want to listen to us on the go. And so if that's the case, check us out on Podbean and iTunes. That's a great way to keep up with our show and check out episodes again and again, and so on and so forth. All right. So with that being said, I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
Time in bed. Let's go.
I want to thank myself for another great show, pat myself on the back, and thank all of you for your continued support and your contribution to the show. Thank you so much for watching or for listening. If you're somebody that's listening later on in the show, later on in the night, tonight or tomorrow, or whatever the case may be, thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you for your patience tonight in the late start. Again, work, technical issues. I apologize for it, but thank you for sticking with us. I appreciate it. Quick score update. Game 5 of the Western Conference semifinals between the Spurs and the Thunder from San Antonio. That game on TNT. So if you're interested, check it out. Right now, San Antonio has opened up a 12-point lead, 63-51 with 6 minutes and 40 seconds left in the third quarter. That series tied at 2 games apiece. So if you're interested in that game, check it out on TNT. And obviously, we'll talk about all the NBA stuff next week when we have our next sports show. But obviously, there'll be some NBA games on opposite us on Thursday. We'll obviously give you score updates throughout the show on Thursday as well. So that's it for tonight. Again, our next show this Thursday, an entertainment show, box office beat, TV highlights, film picks, our summer box office preview. And if we have any time, we'll do some entertainment news as well. That's what's coming up on Thursday. We'll talk more about next week on Thursday as well. So until Thursday, I hope you have a great rest of your night, a great Wednesday, and, of course, a great Thursday. We'll see you back here broadcasting and streaming live here on Google Plus and on YouTube at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time this Thursday night for our next show. Until then, I hope you all have a good night, everybody.